You are not stuck in your life. You are actually in movement. And that's what we're going to talk about today is that you have this feeling of being stuck, but you're actually not stuck. You're just moving back and forth. And we're going to talk a little bit about decision making, why you feel stuck, and then some solutions for that. So the first thing, quote of the day comes from my boy Tim Ferriss, not my boy, just I love his books and his podcast, but here it is. And it comes from the 4-Hour Workweek. What is the opposite of happiness? Sadness? No. Just as love and hate are two sides of the same coin, so are happiness and sadness. Crying out of happiness is a perfect illustration of this. The opposite of love is indifference, and the opposite of happiness is, here's the clincher, boredom. And that is what we're going to talk about today, is that there's this weird paradox that boredom is the answer, but it is also the thing that we want to move away from eventually. But it is the answer for most people right now who are actually suffering. I've been reading and learning a lot about people who are feeling stuck, indecisive, the men's loneliness epidemic, or just the loneliness epidemic in general, and just most people kind of feeling like they don't belong, there's no community. So I've been really, really curious about that and why our mind is making us feel like we're stuck and we can't get out of it. And I've been experiencing this as well, and I do feel this quite often with making content, which is strange. I thought it would get easier, and it does. It's like the cold shower thing, is it gets a little bit easier each time that you do it, but it's still difficult. And I think we expect things to just eventually not be difficult at all. Like if you go to the gym for 8 years, like then we just assume it's going to be really a habit and you won't even think about it. And the truth is, again, from doing it 2 years every single day in a row, no, it's still hard. It is. It's just like waking up super early in the morning, like 5 a.m. It's going to be hard. Going outside when it's cold for a walk and you don't want to, it's going to be hard. And that's one of the lessons we'll get to today. And the tip of the day is actually, I'll just get straight into it, is start journaling. This is going to give you a place to do what we're about to talk about, which is basically sit with yourself. So journal. I put some links in the show notes of the one that I really love, and then I use like the smaller one when I'm traveling around, which is nice. Okay, so the title of this episode, actually, this idea I just got, it's called Someplace Else. And funny story, my father, when he was younger, in his 20s, he started a bar. And they were sitting around thinking of what to name this bar, like a cool, fun name. And he noticed that a lot of people, when they went somewhere, they were like, hey, where should we go? And somebody would be like, hey, let's go someplace else. Or, hey, let's go, just anybody walking up, they're bored, they don't want to be there, let's go someplace else. So my father decided it was a good idea to name the bar Someplace Else. I think that is amazing. I'm laughing because that's funny, but also I think it's super relative and pertinent to where we are right now in life, and that is everybody wants to be someplace else. And I loved it. It just hit me a little while ago. That's it. We want to pick up our phones and be distracted and go someplace else. We want to be online, watching or consuming content to be somewhere else. We buy things to be somewhere else in our mind, like that purse or that bag or those clothes or this new toy is going to bring us someplace else. It's in our mind and we're already there. We own it, and it's just going to bring us this new version of ourselves. It's someplace else. It's everywhere but where we are right in the exact moment. And I actually almost named this podcast Someplace Else Podcast. And now that it's becoming so relevant, I'm like, I wonder if I should change it. But I will stick with the always do, because that really means so much to me and changed my life. Okay, so talking about decision making and why you feel stuck and why you want to go someplace else. So here's the issue, is that decision making is always in motion. Most people are like, oh, I can't make a decision. And I was like this so often. But really, you are making a decision, but you're making a decision towards something like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym. Boom, decision made. But as you get closer to the decision that you made, the harder thing, as you get closer, the more the consequences and the difficulties start to come up in your mind. So the closer you get, 4 hours from going to the gym, 3 to 1 hour from going to the gym, all of the hard things come up in your mind. And then you decide to go not to the gym, and then you swing back. So I hate to say this, but I really was thinking a lot about this today, is that decision making is always binary. It's either a yes or a no. I couldn't think of anything else where there's not. Even though you might say maybe, let's say, hey, do you want to go to dinner? And it's maybe. It's still going to be decided later. You're either going to go or you're not going to go. It's either a yes or no, a no. So we're always in between this yes or no stage. And what happens is, so often, and I've realized this, I've preached this before, do hard shit. And even I struggle with this, is that you're going to train your muscle, your brain, to do hard things, to make decisions. I think maybe people, at least myself, at points I was like, why am I doing a cold shower? Like, what is the point of this? And I did stop for a while. Sure, it's the health benefits and boosting immunity and dopamine boosting factors, and there's good research behind that. That's great. But I was kind of like, why? What is the long-term goal here? And that's kind of it, is like, you teach yourself to decide when you come closer to the decision point of like, okay, I'm going to eat healthy tomorrow. And then you get there, and the salad's in front of you, and there's a hamburger or cheeseburger here, and you're like, oh, no salad. So it's going to help you make that decision when you get to the no point, the difficult point, where it's like yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, and you're just always going to keep going to whatever is easy on the pendulum. So there's basically a pendulum of decision making: yes, no, or easy, hard, easy, hard, easy, hard. That's it. So when you feel stuck or indecisive, you're not really, you're in motion. You're just swinging between easy and hard, and you're just going from, oh, this is easy to make a decision about eating healthy tomorrow. That's easy, super easy. So I'm on this side. Great, easy decision made. And then when it gets closer to the hard part of really having to do it, you swing back to the easy one and make the easy decision. So I really thought that was fascinating. Okay, the next part I wanted to talk about, I'm trying to make these not so long, is the solution, right? So, okay, here's the problem. You're indecisive. You feel stuck. You are really making a decision. At least this was a big realization for me. It's like, oh, I am really deciding, like, but I'm always deciding the easy thing. When I get to a difficult task, like, should I make this video or not? Yesterday, I was like 100% I'm making a video today. And as I got closer and the day starts to pass and I don't make it, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm always swinging towards the easy. The solution, boredom. So what Tim Ferriss was saying to get away from in that quote that I shared is actually the solution for the beginning. You have to learn to sit with yourself. You can journal, which I love, been loving it. It will give you a ton of answers. It forces you to slow down your thinking. You have to think through processes, and you can be more honest there, and you can just get your brain out on paper. Meditation is always a great way to do this, to just sit with yourself. There are tons of different meditations. I'm not an expert. I just do kind of what feels right. And I've even been getting away from the apps and just sitting there for 10-15 minutes and just chilling the fuck out. So that's another way. Or just stare at a wall. I've been going for lots of walks. Walks feel super, super helpful, but with nothing. No phone. I'll bring a small little notebook and a pen and write down anything important that comes up. But no phone, not even in your pocket. Just knowing you have it changes the dynamic. So that's the key for now. You need to learn how to get bored. And then once you get bored and you start to see who you are and what you want, because the thing is, we want to go someplace else because of all this external information, right? You're watching content, you're watching shorts, someone's telling you to do this or buy this or get this course and this will make you confident or this will help you, like all of these things. So your mind doesn't know what you want. It has no idea. It's just like, oh, this looks good. This is exciting. I want this. Oh, then I want this. What do you want? Nobody knows what they want. And there's an interesting article I read recently called What Do You Want to Want? So there is a point now that we're at, that there's so much information telling you what to want that you might think you want that. But you have to choose. What do you want to want? Do you want, like, if close your eyes, really, do you want to want that thing? Do you want to be famous? Really? Do you know all the problems that come with that and losing anonymity and your privacy and all those things? Do you really? So it's sitting with yourself and seeing what you really, really want. And then the next part leads to happiness. And that's basically be intentional about what you do and make progress towards that. As human beings, we are happy when we make progress towards a goal. It's better if you can see some of the feedback You can do something and you get feedback immediately. Like if you post content, which I always like and I will always be a fan of, even if this goes nowhere, it just teaches you how to kind of think, gets over some fears of sharing, teaches you new skills, and it really makes you kind of intentional. Like you have to do this, and then it's pretty easy. Press a button, record, share. So it makes you intentional. The point is also this: you could say tomorrow, I'm just going to waste my day, do nothing, stay inside, watch Netflix, order a bunch of pizza, drink some Coca-Cola, and pick my nose all day. You could do that as long as you're intentional. Like, I'm going to do this, and then you go and do this. Then you will be happier than just letting it drift away. Like, most people are so upset now, especially with the social media, like, oh man, I spent like 4 or 5 hours on my phone, because you are not in control. But if you plan it and you're like, hey, I'm going to just go on my phone from 12 noon to 2 p.m. during lunchtime, or that downtime when people want to take a nap, right? Then you do it. And that's it. You set some constraints and boundaries, but be intentional with your time and what you're doing. And then you might not want to be someplace else. And the last and final thing I'll say is, I'm getting back to this more and more, is the do hard shit principle, call it whatever. I'm just learning this, is that whatever decision you're going to make, so your brain, again, back on the pendulum, is going to swing to the easy side, whatever the easy side is. But when you realize that the answer is the hard side, if you can swing the pendulum to the hard side and then do the hard thing, and then it's going to suck. But you learn to love it. You really, really learn to get happiness out of it. And of course, it's going to suck. Like, the gym is always the perfect example, right? When you get to the moment, you don't want to go, you don't want to go, you don't want to go. And even when you get there, it sucks. I don't know too many people that love it. I mean, maybe those fitness influencers, but I don't really love it. It's hard. I'm sweaty. My muscles hurt. I feel tired even after. Then I got to worry about eating more protein and all these other things. It's hard. Like, it just sucks. But maybe that, just accepting that it's going to suck, and that's okay. And then eventually, like, easy and hard will kind of merge together, and the pendulum eventually will stop. Always do what you say you're going to do. I think that was kind of how I wanted to sign off. Simplify your life. That's helped a lot. Stop overthinking things. Don't think, do, and always do what you say you're going to do.